everyone. It's CIU Nation, CIU Podcast. This is Dr. Williams, and I'm here with Dr. Johnson. Together, we are here to talk about a few things that's been happening in the news. So I think one thing I wanted to talk about, Dr. Johnson, what is one of the things you captured in the news in recent time? What did you capture? President, that was not presidential, but general immunity, right? Immunity
Yes.
has been in the news, mostly presidential immunity. The
Right.
president going to the Supreme Court. But generally, we just wanted to talk about just general immunity, what is expected of government
Mm-hmm.
officials, and that includes everybody. We discuss uh,
Mm-hmm.
federal law and the federal courts in the class. We talk about immunity and different things that the Constitution talks about and case study talk about. And but most time people, now people are talking about, oh, well, the president got to have this, dissenting opinion on other things. But when you think about immunity, as a whole, what comes to mind to you? What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. When we discuss when we talk about the immunity and presidential immunity, we're discussing, does the president's power has it's basically an official act granting any type of president or high official, rather they can enjoy the immunity of criminal liability or further prosecution of criminal or civil liabilities.
Mhm.
And what I've learned from the immunity, especially in the legal field, is that a sitting president has those privileges
Mhm.
as a sitting president, but not as a sitting president
Mhm.
after they leave office. They
Right.
do not have those rights. So the immunity does gives its benefits to a sitting president or a high official of any country. However, after they leave, they're no longer in a presidential or a high official capacity in which they're no longer have those immunity privileges.
Right. Well, that's true because they are not working in official capacity. If they did something personally and got in a fight along the street, that's on them. But they are still protected from their previous job, things, decision they made, other things that nobody can go back on them to say, well, you authorized this to be done to this country, you put a sanction on this country, you started a war in Iraq, and so you're going to have to be persecuted. No, I mean, once they were in an official capacity, and anything they did, actually, for the most part, anything they did, because most president or official, this apply to senators, acting in that official capacity, even city, local officials, they work in official capacity. As long as they do not deliberately break the law, violate the law to hurt people, they are protected. The Constitution protects people. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we'll say, well, does that mean I'm always protected for life? No, like you said, no. If you mostly it's in an official capacity. So a person working for the U.S. government, if they were in an international country and like a diplomat, right? We have the diplomat immunity. They come out there, they are
Mm-hmm.
protected because they seem like they're in a foreign entity, right? At the embassy. So if they commit a crime, most of them they gotta be sent back to their country. They're stripped of
Right.
their diplomatic immunity and they go back home. And their people can persecute them for whatever they did if the country chooses to do that. But generally, we don't persecute them but they can come back as diplomat once that immunity is stripped. And we do that.
Correct.
Countries do that because we want, for example, Americans in different countries to be protected too. We don't want them to be persecuted if something were to happen. So we kind of give equal footing to things. Even though generally U.S. kind of take control of so many things. I mean, recently we've seen so many things that have come out. But yeah, that's an issue of immunity. So it's a serious thing, but it's there to protect. It's a protection
Mm-hmm.
for those that work in, working with the government, working in official capacity. so that they can actually do their work without having the fear of being persecuted. So yeah,
And we also can look at Nixon versus Fitzgerald in 1982, and we can look at Clinton versus Jones in 1997, and in those instances of legal terms, we can look at those types of cases and decisions where in presidential immunity, looking at, oh hey, is the president immune from prosecution, or was, and especially in, we look at President Nixon, President Clinton, we're looking at those, say, hey, do they have president immunity against prosecution, further prosecution? So as they are sitting presidents, or as they're, when they're leaving office, are they still, do they still have those privileges?
right,
And when they leave office, I think the court system, and I think the judicial system and the legal system gets their interpretation and looking at, hey, okay, how are we going to proceed in these matters? These presidential immunities are coming up. How is this going to benefit the next president coming in? Or what do we need to do to safeguard these protections? And how are we going to interpret the immunity clause? And we're seeing today, when it comes to President Trump's immunity and how it went up to the Court of Appeals and how it's gone up to the Supreme Court in these decisions.
right.
Now, when Justice Jackson was talking about it, she also asserted, where she stated that what's going to happen to those presidents who violates any criminal act or do any criminal or civil prosecution, what is the next step for them? How can we protect the presidential immunity and going forward for other future presidents? And it's important to understand that the presidential immunity, even though it's there for their privilege, after they're leaving, they're still basic citizens, and they still have to go through the same legal process and the same rights as any other legal citizen.
Yeah, honestly, we realize that they treat it like special because the president, so they still got some privileges and other things. It's part of nature, we still respect them because of the high office they had. But yeah, that doesn't mean that, you see, and that is what set America apart from so many different countries. President from the banana republic or another country may go out there and probably commit a crime and just execute somebody. It may take somebody's wife and just execute them. They may not like it. I read about a president before who was sent out of his people. If he liked the wife, he just give them ambassador job, and then he can go out with the wife, and then he doesn't give them job anymore. He targeted them. And those kind of things, those are things that happen in Banana Republic. You want to commit crime against the citizen because you feel that you own everything. Happen in a lot of developing countries or countries progressing to be developed, second-tier countries. But in the U.S., because we got a constitution that spell out these things, we have immunity in the official capacity. And we expect everybody to be law-abiding people, right? Whether you're from president or former president. If as a president, you're there to protect the country, everybody in the country, and so you do certain things, and you're classified documents, so many things that are classified that we don't know, okay? But your job is to protect the people. But that doesn't mean that when you stand on the lonely side, you're passing with your motorcade, and because somebody standing in the road and yelled at your name and did not like you, so you stop the car and just execute them. It doesn't work like that. That's not the kind of immunity we're talking about. Yeah. And exactly. If we had that in the country that people can just execute people or just do anything as well, then what set America apart from all of this country we're talking about? We just be the same, right? Or be like the old kings did, King Henry or King George. And they could just go out and bamboozle your house, and the soldiers can just rip your wives and take the money and burn down your houses and do anything they want to do. Who's going to do anything as a king? But America doesn't have, we don't have that. We have the system of laws that we govern by. And I'm happy, if you find the former president, if that's his opinion, other things he is spreading through the court, but he's going through the court system. Whatsoever, we all have a reason. he is going, he said, I need this immunity, and this other lower court said no, but he got it all the way to the Supreme Court. That's going through the legal process. That is not taking
Mhm.
this into your hand. And some people will say,
I
well,
think,
go ahead.
and I also think too, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of people has misconceptions about how the way the legal system works.
Mhm.
He's going through the legal process
Mhm.
as he should,
Mhm.
as any other legal, as any other citizen,
Mhm.
or and I think what other a lot of people gets confused or misinterprets the law is that sometimes a sitting president or once they leave are basically citizens again, so they still have the legal rights to
Yep.
under the protection of the law. And the issue is sometimes arises is when, especially for President Trump, is when he start going on these attacks.
Mhm.
And I think any president should not go on some types of such as an attacks, or any other country for any types of attacks to dissuade, basically to sway its voters or the people out there who's supporting them to
Right.
make to all these rhetorics and hatred
Yeah.
rhetorics. And that's the issue now in the country, is
Mhm.
trying to get away from these hateful rhetorics, and we want to make it better for the country. So you want to encourage and improve instead of going talking um talking negative about the country, or talk about negative about certain people
For the
and
judges. But
discrediting.
therefore, I mean, that's him. He's also a politician, and he feel that maybe
Mhm.
he feel that he is being targeted. But just to say that when you have a client, it doesn't matter who it is, and they talk too much to the press and other things, they get themselves in trouble to create more problem for themselves. And we know the press conference Bill Clinton had about Monica Lewinsky and when he said during the impeachment trial, I did not have, this relationship with that woman. And now when you make that kind of statement and it's not true, then you get a problem. Or you say is, it depends what you mean is and that. So when you talk with the press, when you talk like that, you actually create problems. So when you have a client who's talking a lot, it's never a good thing. You leave that with the lawyers to do that. But again, anyway, we want to just emphasize the point that the
But
government
also
has,
too,
uh
they still have the First Amendment.
right.
The First Amendment still protects
Have the
them
First
under
Amendment, you have the
freedom of speech,
system,
expression.
right.
So that he feel as though, hey, I have the First Amendment to protect me, so I can do whatever I want. But it's to a certain extent of what the First Amendment can do. So
So we people
I
may
think
people may disagree, but he's going through the court, they're going through the court system. But we also want to emphasize that immunity that is standing by the
Mhm.
Constitution extend to all government officials, all those acting in official capacity. The president, of course,
Mhm.
he has a lot more granted to him. And they could, if the government feel, whether the Justice Department or other offices, the Justice Department is not the personal arm of it's not the personal Justice Department of the Attorney General of the President. If they feel that something is wrong and they want to persecute, others may say it's for political motivation whatsoever, because the previous
Mhm.
administration did not choose to persecute, doesn't mean the other cannot do that. As long as it's being done through the court system, I mean, it is legal, it is legitimate. The court system may refuse it. They may bog down the court system with so many unnecessary cases. But again, that is the process we have. That's why we have so many lawsuits in America, and that's why we have so many lawyers. Good job,
And it's,
Anyway,
and it's also important too
yeah,
of who was appointed by these political
right.
officials. See, because now it becomes a politics saying, "Hi, we got judges here that's been. Are they going to uphold the law? Are they
And
going
I mean,
to
we hope
apply the law where it's supposed to be, and
right,
not try to persuade using politics to persuade their decisions?" And
right,
we know
and-
as
right,
legal experts is to ensure that there is a fair process, not only a fair process to their client, but
right.
also a fair process in the legal system in interpreting the law and applying it to those facts and evidence to support their decision and not just based on political
Right.
reasoning.
So that we can discuss that, next podcast. But yeah, that's true. It is tricky. We can just do another podcast on it as a appointment, all of these things. But yeah, so that is an important thing to understand about immunity. Yes, it is there. But when people are using a legal system, let it go by and let's see what happens. Again, the Constitution is there, and that's what set us apart from other countries. So people are protected, and if you want to get more protection, you go through the court system. If they say no, they say no. You can appeal to the Supreme Court, but again, the immunity is there. It just cannot be used in a criminal manner. It's only for official capacity.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, and we'll see you on the next podcast. CIU Nation and our podcast and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.